Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha.
Welcome everyone. This is the Lama Live Livestream event of Lama Tsultrim Allione. I'm Dreamy, and it's a joy to join you from Poland as your host for this program. As we prepare to receive Lama Tsultrim's teachings, I'd like to begin by emphasizing that Taramandala is committed to being a welcoming, open, and safe community for practitioners and students of all cultures, races, religions, genders, sexual orientations, age, ability, and circumstances. And so, whether you are joining us live right now or engaging with this recording afterward, I want to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you and tell you that your presence here matters. Without further ado, it's my great honor and privilege to welcome from the island of Sicily, Lama Tsultrim Allione, Lama La. We are eagerly awaiting your guidance. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you today. Yes, I'm in Sicily. I'm sorry I can't give you a more beautiful background to look at. I tried to have what I'm seeing out my window, the ocean and the sky, but then I was backlit. So I'm inside and I'm in the northern part of Sicily, just arrived yesterday. And I've just finished teaching in Europe, have a little break before I teach in Italy, and really happy to be with you all. Seattle, so far away. And I saw Dee from North Carolina earlier. We have some, that's where you're from, Renee? Or your family is. Yeah, it's just amazing. It always amazes me that we can do this. I remember in the 80s hearing that this kind of thing was going to be possible. I just couldn't believe it. And here we are, and we've been here for a while now. So let's begin by raising bodhicitta, the intention to practice together, to be together, to learn together for the benefit of all beings. Touch in your heart center, your heart chakra, where the spark of bliss created at the moment of conception that remains in your heart chakra dwells, and let that spark of bliss grow, expand, and reach out as love to all beings everywhere. Thank you. Greetings to everybody. My next teaching will be online as well as in person in Italy on the weekend of the October 14th and 15th. So I think Dreamy can find the link to that if you're interested. It's called Resting in the Womb of the Great Mother, because our true nature is actually called the womb of the Great Mother. This term is repeated many times in the Dzogchen teachings. And it's always fascinated me. Why do they call it womb? And why the feminine? And so that's what I'm going to talk about on that weekend. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about non-dual awareness in the context of Sahaja, which is what I taught in Germany. And I wanted to first kind of set the stage a little bit for this idea of non-duality. Maybe you know what non-duality is already. It's a term that's become fairly commonly used, to the extent that there is something called the Non-Duality Conference. And there are non-dual teachings in both Hinduism and Buddhist traditions. I teach from the Buddhist non-dual tradition. And so if we talk about it in the context of Sahaja, which is the Sanskrit word for lenchikipe, or co-emergent, born together, wisdom. So Saha is born and Ja together, and in Tibetan it's lenchikipe. So it's literally Len is together and K is born. So this term is very widely used in ancient Tantra, to the point that there was actually something called the Sahaja, or at least some scholars believe that term Sahaja referred to a teaching that was so unique in itself that it was considered an actual yana, or a vehicle in itself. So this was taught in the 8th century. The most prominent teacher of it, probably at least the one that wrote the most, is Saraha. But remember, Saraha's teacher was a woman. Her name is not given. She's called the Arrowsmith woman, because Saraha was actually a monk. And he was walking in the marketplace one day, and 2 maidens approached him with a glass of beer. And they said, "Drink this." He's a monk. He's not supposed to drink beer. But he did. And he not only had a little sip, he drank the whole thing. Sometimes I wonder what was actually in that beer. But in any case, it altered his sort of fixedness to the point where he was open to what they told him. And what they said to him was, "Your teacher is an Arrowsmith woman, and she's in the marketplace. You need to seek her out, find her." And so he ended up leaving the monastery, much to the consternation of all the monks, as well as the king and the queen, because he was an extremely promising scholar. And so he leaves the monastery, goes out, takes off his robes, and starts looking for this woman. It's similar in a way to the story of Naropa, who was also a very promising monk, not only promising, but was the actual head of Nalanda University, who was sitting outside studying books on epistemology. And logic. I think I have to sneeze. Huh? Excuse me. It was like the shock of Naropa when a shadow fell across his book. And when the shadow fell across his book that he was studying, remember it's logic, so very logos dominated, he turned around and there was an ugly old hag. And she asked him, do you understand the words or the meaning? And first he said, I understand the words. And she was very happy and she did a little jig. And then he said, and I understand the meaning. And then she got very angry and threw down her stick and said, you don't understand the meaning, you only understand the words. And then he said, well, who does? And she said, Tilopa, my brother. So in both cases, it was a woman that woke them up. There were these maidens in the marketplace and the old hag. And then Saraha was told to find a woman. And so he went into the marketplace and he really didn't know how to find this person. And so he was walking down through the stalls looking at all the people, and there were a lot of people because bows and arrows were the main ways that they did hunting, and many of them hunted for a living, or there was a war too, so they needed a lot of arrows. So there were lots of different people making arrows, and he had no idea how he was going to figure out who this was. But he came upon a woman who immediately struck him because she was extremely mindful in the way she was looking down the shaft of the arrow at the point, and she was touching the feathers. And he tried to make small talk with her to kind of see if it was her. And she immediately said, the teachings of the Buddha are not found through words. They're found through symbols and actions. So the same thing as Naropa, this idea, it's not about the mind, it's not about logic, it's about action and meaning and symbols. So another way of knowing, like an alternative way of knowing. So let's just sit with that for a moment, that whole idea that there's another way of knowing. And think about your life and how you access that other way of knowing that isn't to do with words, that you know through symbols and actions. Let's just sit with that for a moment. What did you find? Did you think of ways that you work that way, or that you know things through symbols and actions? I was thinking about myself and how I really don't like to make decisions in advance. I like to make them at the last minute, because then I can be in touch with all the factors that are coming together at that moment. And if I have to make decisions far in advance or in advance, then I lose the ability to respond to the moment. And this is something I haven't been able to do for most of my life because I've had to have a schedule and commitments, sometimes a year in advance, say where I'm going to be a year from now. And this is not how lamas lived traditionally. They always lived in the moment and would move suddenly or stay somewhere longer because they would be in watching signs, watching for maybe a rainbow that would appear or maybe some obstacle would appear and then moving that way. And I hadn't thought about it until this moment where I asked you to think about it. But it is that way of being, but that way of being also allows for the magic. It allows for somebody just to show up or something just to happen spontaneously. That wouldn't happen if you were kind of rigidly in your logos dominated mind. So yeah, as a midwife, definitely. Yeah. I think this is something connected to the feminine too, because it allows you to connect with intuition. I think that all the people that answered were women, although I'm not positive about that. And I'm certainly not saying that men don't have this capability, but often it's women that teach it to men. And this was the case with Saraha as well as Naropa. And I love that idea about symbols, that it was through symbols that they would learn. Because symbols connect to a different part of the brain. It's a part of the brain that isn't in logos, isn't in our left brain dominated world. Symbols and dreams connect to another part of our being. And that's why poetry is so powerful, because poetry does that as well. And in fact, the way that Sahaja was taught was in poems. It wasn't taught through empowerments. There weren't formal tantric empowerments as there had been in other traditions and continue to be. It was taught in these poems that often had sort of non-logical sequences or words that would kind of trip up the logical mind and then put it into another state. And that state is Sahaja. So what is Sahaja then? So Sahaja is the co-emergence of our awakeness and our confusion. And so when it says born together, it means that at the time when you're born, you already have Buddha nature. You already have your innate awakeness that's seated when the sperm and the ovum come together and the spark of bliss is created. And you also have the dualizing factor, the dualizing mind that sees subject and object, samsara and nirvana, form and emptiness, all those dualities. And so these ways of being are constantly co-emerging. So right now, in this very moment, as you're sitting here listening to me talk, it's co-emerging. You have your dualizing mind that's functioning, and you have your already awake Buddha nature mind being happening. So let's take a moment and feel that. Feel your innate awakeness. And that innate awakeness is effortless. That's a key word and a key idea in Sahaja, that you actually get to this experience through stopping trying. So let's stop trying. Relax. Rest. And feel the vastness, limitlessness of that awareness. No center, no edge. It's always present. It's been with you since before you were born. It's your original face. In Tibetan teachings, nature of mind teachings, Dzogchen teachings, the phrase that's often used is Rango She. Rango She. Rang is own or self, and then Mo is face, and She is to know. So knowing your own face. I love that. It reminds me of the Zen teaching. I think there's a koan that's something like to know your face before you were born. And so when you're born, and at any moment, like this very moment, co-emerging with that is the dualizing factor. That part of us that panics when we have the experience of that vastness. So those two things are happening at once. So there was a woman, and she was a wine cellar, and she wondered if her job, let's say she worked in a winery in Italy, or she was selling wine for a winery in Italy. That was her job, because she was doing it at a high level with the king. And she wondered to her guru, is my work a problem? is my livelihood, a problem for my practice. And the guru saw that she was on the verge of full awakening. And so he gave her meditation based on selling wine. And he said, all Buddhas drink wine that isn't made by human hands. So what's the wine that isn't made by human hands? It is inexhaustible. It is known as the inexhaustible treasure chest. The entrance into the sphere of all Buddhas. It is called the sphere beyond thought. Buddha daughter, remain in that meditative state, and you will taste the primordial wine of innate, spontaneous realization, Sahaja. This is the wine that all Buddhas drink. It will quench your thirst, and you will be able to serve it to all. So she practiced that. She practiced learning what was that wine that no human hands make. You don't need to make it because it's already made. So Saraha said, hey, knowing not true reality, not knowing true reality, which is as difficult to realize as a Vajra, for minds that laboriously pursue words. So here we are again, he's talking about words. And here I am using words, trying to communicate what is beyond words. What is beyond words? What is that knowing that's beyond words? It's difficult to encounter the actuality of nothing to do. So this is something that's really important and really connected to the teachings of non-duality. And that is, there's nothing to do. You don't have to make an effort. In fact, the whole process of efforting is the dualistic mind. So stop trying. Stop trying, but don't be distracted. Drop trying. Drop words. Let yourself relax. If the nature of what is to do is known, as nothing to do. So profound. The victor's, meaning the Buddha's, soul awakened mind is beyond objects, beyond subject and object. The body is unchanging dharmata. The body is unchanging dharmata. Dharmata means suchness, thatness, thisness, as it isness. Let's rest in that for a moment. I'll read the last few lines. Not knowing true reality, which is difficult to realize as a vajra for minds that laboriously pursue words. It's difficult to encounter the actuality of nothing to do. If the nature of what is to do is known as nothing to do, the victor's soul awakened mind is beyond objects. The body is unchanging dharmata. Being in that nothing to do. No need to make an effort. Release. And feel your innate awakeness, awareness. Internally hollow, not abiding in the body. It is free of agent and object. The one who's acting and that which is acted upon. With a corrupted path, the path's result won't be seen. And this is the key line. Buddha's mind is not separate from the unborn state. Buddha's mind is not separate from the unborn state. The reason that we can awaken instantaneously is that this isn't something that's created. It's not like we walk this path, the spiritual path, and we're making something, we're creating something, and finally it's done. It's already done. Just have to stop making. Stop making. The Buddha's mind is not separate from the unborn state. In the state of non-thinking, meditative equipoise, or stable meditation, is great bliss. So that's Sahaja Ananda, the bliss of Sahaja. Why? Why bliss? Why do you think bliss? Write in the comments. Why do you think bliss has anything to do with this? I'll look in the comments. Freedom. Yeah, why do bliss is free? Yeah. Bliss is our original state. Yeah. The natural state of unqualified awareness. Bliss is the realm of cessation. Oh, lots of things about bliss. Yeah, because bliss is actually there from the very beginning. Remember, at the moment the sperm and the ovum come together, a spark of bliss is created. And that remains in the heart chakra of every being for their entire life span. And it can't be tainted. It can't be stained. So no matter what you've done, no matter what has been done to you, or things may have been done to you that make you feel stained or unclean, it didn't touch this. It didn't touch your true nature. That's your core. So whatever happened is just on the outside. And that teaching, by the way, if you want a book source, is in Passionate Enlightenment, Miranda Shaw's book, published by Princeton, just came out as a Princeton classic. And it's in the chapter on spontaneous jewel-like yogini, whose name is Sahaja Yogini Chinta. She talks about the spark of bliss, but she's not the only one that talks about it. But there's a beautiful description of that and how gender plays into that experience. Let's see what you are finding. Thank you for the book reference. Yeah. So, but it's beyond words, remember? So then What does he say? Within the state of great bliss, rest in the continuity of non-thought. So when you're really in this state of non-thought, bliss, actually feeling of physical bliss, begins to move through the body. This isn't something to get attached to. It's not something, oh, I didn't feel it. What's wrong with me? To worry about if you don't feel it. It's not like that. It's primordial bliss. It's not constructed. It's what we feel when we stop effort. Efforting. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. Is it grace? Grace. I'm not sure how that word would translate. I think if it was blessings, yes, because Jinlap, which actually means gift waves, is what emerges from this state. Blessings. And so someone who's in this state can bless objects, can bless things, can emanate blessings. So within the state of great bliss, rest in the continuity of non-thought. Without mental engagement. Key teaching, key instruction, without mental engagement. Appearances are pure in their own place. Oh, so what's that? What's appearances? Appearances is all this. It's all this that's around us. These are appearances. As well as everything you're hearing, that's appearances. So there's this ground, this uncontrived, limitless, unborn, unceasing ground, and inseparable from that is the play of it, which is appearances. They're not separate from it. So it's not about getting away from the world. It's not about renouncing the world, because the world is it, inherently. So appearances are pure in their own place. The condition consists of unceasing thinking, luminous wisdom, similar to a lotus that is free of always and always growing from a single root. The face of Sahaja, and some people translate Sahaja as connate. Karl Brunholz, who's translated a lot of Sahaja and Saraha, he settled on that word because it has this idea of being born together and born, so connate. It's not my favorite word, but I get why he chose it in terms of words. So similar to a lotus that's free of always growing and always growing from a single root. So everything's always coming out of this. And yet this that everything's coming out of is unborn and unceasing. So that which is conditioned is also inseparable from the unconditioned and is merely the play of it, the dance of it, the lila. The face of Sahaja is present within all beings. It is tainted by seeing other as existing, not recognizing that there is no other. Wow. What if there was no other? Let's feel that for a moment. No other. That's non-dual. So knowing this is absolute truth. But we also have to operate within relative truth. If we went around saying, oh, there's no other, let me just take your stuff. Or there's no other, I don't think I'm going to stop at the stoplight. We'd have a lot of problems. So we have to recognize the relative reality while holding the absolute truth. And that's co-emergence. But it's important to know that absolute truth and really find yourself in it, really rest in it, really know it, to be able to attune to it at all times. And if not at all times yet, to practice attuning to it and gradually developing continuity in that awareness. Yeah. Let me know if there's any questions coming up for you and what I'm saying. It is tainted by wrongly seeing other as existing. But just as in the case of the flower of a lotus at its very beginning, through the power of seeing correctly how things actually are, Mahamudra is unwavering. Though it may be tainted by the turbidities of perceiver and perceived, it is the fundamental greatness, unchanging throughout the three times. So you see what I mean? Like it can be tainted by it, not meaning that it's actually changed by it, but we don't see it. So we don't see this spark of bliss that's present in our heart chakra at all times, which is our access point to the unborn, unceasing, all-pervasive, luminous awakeness. It doesn't taint it when we don't see it, but our experience is tainted by not seeing it. So profound. It is fundamental greatness, unchanging throughout the three times, primordially free of activities of consciousness, the vayus, the lower gate practices, meaning the sexual yogas, mantras, and so on. So, in other words, to reach this, to know it, you don't need to do all those practices. This nature is free of any letting go or settling. It resonates with innate freedom. Innate freedom is our freedom from the beginning. Innate, born within. And it's not going to end when our physical body comes apart. It's actually, that's the moment when we have a chance to actually really fall into this deeply. Because we drop the body. What Ram Dass called the too tight shoe. The body, the too tight shoe. See if there's any questions here. Can meditation centers within the heart chakra be a good approach to more constant bliss? Well, no, because you're not supposed to strive for constant bliss. That becomes a form of grasping. So any meditation on anything separates you from it. Bliss naturally arises when you let go of efforting, when you let go of a meditation on something. And really drop, drop, drop. My daily mantra is learning to see with my heart. Oh, that's nice. I think that's slightly different, though. That's more like seeing with an open heart. We can really connect to others and see their suffering and not dwell on it, but be open to it. But maybe to see with the non-dual awareness that is within the heart, but it's not only within the heart. That's just where it starts at the time of our birth, but it doesn't start then, but it's sort of indwellingness in our physical being is created at the moment of conception. Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. Yeah. Let me give you a little bit more of this before we have another reality than this. Refrain from thinking about samsara and do not look for nirvana. So that's what I was saying about, let's meditate on the heart and then try to find that bliss. No, don't try to get anywhere. Stop trying to get somewhere. And that in that very stopping, your awareness will drop into itself. Awareness of awareness. With no effort in anything, there's nothing to adopt, reject, or look at. Not distinguishing fringe and center. The middle is the straight path. So our awareness, right now, your awareness, this awareness that is knowing, is listening to me, is, if you look at that, it doesn't have a center, does it? It doesn't have an edge. It's not in the brain. It's operating in the body now. But when the body isn't operating, it's not going anywhere. Because it's unborn and undying. Not distinguishing fringe and center, the middle is the straight path, meaning not to. If free from manipulation, the awakened mind's supreme path is bliss. The prajnaparamita path of the stages of traveling, engaging, and such, when leaving behind the short path, is samsara's cause for a long time. So even our idea of path, even our prajnaparamita path, the stages of traveling, this whole idea of our path, it's missing it. The sahaja, the connate or innate, is free from any antidotes. In other words, you don't have to oh, it's not this, I need to fix it like this, I need to fix it with that. You don't have to fix it. Stop trying to fix it. A lot of our ideas of spirituality is that we have to fix something. We have to make it better. We have to get enlightened. Like it's somewhere else. Stop efforting. Do you feel the freedom in that? I think you do. Several people wrote freedom. Yeah, it's very free. And the Sahaja is free from any antidotes and does not have any rivals. Within true reality, there are the 4 kayas as well as the 5 wisdoms. I think we'll end there, and maybe the next time I'm here, which might be next week, I'm I'm being spontaneous as much as I can. I'll talk about that, the 4 kayas and 5 wisdom. So I can feel you out there. I can feel your awareness. It's so strange that even though I can't see you, I mean, these are names popping up. I know some of you, but many of you I don't know. I still feel you, and I could feel us go deep today. And isn't that amazing that we can do that even though this is all in the ethers and I'm sitting alone in this house in Sicily looking at the ocean and the sky on my computer. It's beautiful. So nice to be with you today, to be in Sahaja with you. And may your week be full of the experience of the non-dual and the actual effortlessness of true awareness. Let's dedicate the merit of our time together. Whatever positive accumulation we have gained through this time together, may it benefit all beings. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, all of you who are experiencing the illusion of morning. And to all of us who are heading into the night, have a good evening. And all of you in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day, wishing everyone a Sahaja experience. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Lama. This means so much. We are profoundly thankful for the guidance you share with us. All of these beautiful comments and so many of them. Thank you. Can't say enough how precious it is to be in your presence, both in person and virtually. So thank you for offering that to all of us. And to our kind audience, thank you for showing up to be together this way with Lama Tsultrim and each other. We cultivate our Sangha connection this way, making this experience all the more profound and enduring. And as we conclude today's live stream, I'd like to bring your attention to 2 special announcements. Firstly, we're approaching a beautiful day, Lama Tsultrim's birthday on October 3rd. So if you feel moved to do so and would like to send personal wishes to Lama Tsultrim, please consider writing a heartfelt note or creating a short video message and posting them on the Tara Mandala network this coming Tuesday. Also, in the upcoming week, we're excited to share Tara Mandala's annual gratitude report with you. This report celebrates what we've achieved and cultivated together as a community, emphasizing the depth of our shared commitment and mutual encouragement. And finally, following the tradition going all the way back to the time of the Buddha 2600 years ago, you have the opportunity to make an offering of dana to Lama Tsultrim. Dana is a Pali and Sanskrit word that means generosity. Offering dana creates an auspicious connection and is a beautiful expression of the interdependence between teacher and student. Dana directly recognizes the precious gift of the teacher and the teachings, without which one could not practice the Dharma. If you would like to offer Dana, please follow the link you will see in the chat in a moment, and I'll be also posting some other links, so please check that in a moment. Thank you so much, everyone. May we meet again and again on the path, and may all beings benefit everywhere.
Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu